Stephanie White just put Herb Simon on the clock. And Simon, 91 years old, owner of this franchise since the very first day it existed, may not realize the clock is already running. Because White didn't just coach the Indiana Fever last season. She proved something. Something that changes the entire conversation between a coach and an owner. And now, she's sitting across from him, with that proof in her hands, and the ask that comes with it. If Simon can't meet it, that's when things get bad. Here's what just happened in Indiana. White took a team that was falling apart, injuries everywhere, their biggest star watching from the bench, and she dragged that roster to the edge of a championship, one game away, against the team that went on to win it all. So now she's walking into Gainbridge Fieldhouse with something she didn't have 12 months ago, proof. And when a coach like Stephanie White has proof, the conversation changes, the demands change, and if the owner and the front office around him isn't ready for that conversation, that's when things get bad. Let's talk about what Herb Simon actually signed up for when he hired her. November 2024. The Fever had just fired Christy Sides. The franchise was in a strange spot, suddenly relevant because of Caitlin Clark, but still shaky underneath. Simon needed someone safe, someone who knew Indiana, someone who wouldn't rock the boat. He got Stephanie White. On paper, great hire. She'd just won Coach of the Year in Connecticut. She had history with this franchise. She took the Fever to the WNBA Finals back in 2015, her first stint as head coach here. She knew the culture. She knew the stakes. But here's what Simon may have underestimated. Stephanie White doesn't do safe. She does winning. And those two things aren't always the same. The 2025 season started with so much promise. Caitlin Clark, a rebuilt roster, the All-Star game coming to Indianapolis for the first time ever. The whole city was buzzing. And then, it all fell apart. Clark goes down in early May, quad injury, then a groin injury, then another. She ends up missing most of the season, gone. And it doesn't stop there. Sophie Cunningham, injured. Ari McDonald, injured. Sydney Colson, injured. Chloe Bibby, injured. Even Kelsey Mitchell fights through her own absences. At a certain point, this isn't a basketball team anymore. It's a MASH unit. Any other coach, in any other situation, you wave the white flag. You protect your star. You call the season a wash, and you wait for next year. Stephanie White didn't do that. She kept pushing. She kept competing. And somehow, this broken, shorthanded, written-off team made the playoffs. Not just made the playoffs, won a round, then pushed the number 2 seed in the entire league, the Las Vegas Aces, all the way to a Game 5. The Aces, led by 4-time MVP A'ja Wilson, who went on to sweep the finals and win the championship. Let that land for a second. The team that beat Indiana in the semifinals went on to win it all. Which means if the Fever had won that series, with a roster that looked nothing like what they started the year with, they would have been playing for a title. White won the Commissioner's Cup. She finished 24-20. She did it without her franchise player for most of the year, and she'd already taken this same franchise to the finals back in 2015. This is a coach who knows how to get there, and now it's February 2026. Clark is healthy. The roster is coming together. The city is hungry. This is supposed to be the year, but supposed to be years don't happen by accident. Someone has to pay for them. This is where the front office enters the conversation. Herb Simon has owned this franchise for more than 25 years. Since the Fever played their very first game in 2000, he's seen everything. The lean years, the 2012 championship, Tamika Catchings lifting that trophy in Indianapolis, the long drought that followed, and now this Caitlin Clark era that's brought more attention to this franchise than anything before it. But Simon doesn't run the Fever alone. He has Kelly Krauskopf back as team president, and GM Amber Cox building the roster around him. These are the people Stephanie White has to convince every single day that this window is real and that it requires real investment. And here's the tension nobody's saying out loud. White left Connecticut, a winning program she'd built herself, to come back to Indiana. She didn't do that to finish 24-20. She didn't do that to almost make the finals. She did it to win one. And now she's proven she can get this team there even when everything goes wrong. Which means, if Simon, Krauskopf, and Cox don't give her what she needs when everything goes right, that failure belongs to the front office, not the coach. That's the ultimatum. Nobody wrote it down. It wasn't said at a press conference, but it's real. White's message is this: I held up my end. I coached this team to the edge of a title with nothing. Now give me the roster, give me the investment, give me what this window actually requires, or this opportunity disappears. Because championship windows in women's basketball don't stay open forever. Think about what the Fever had in 2012. Tamika Catchings at the peak of her career, everything clicking at exactly the right moment. That window opened, they won, and then it closed. It didn't come back for over a decade. Caitlin Clark is 27. She's entering what should be the best years of her career. Stephanie White is 48, experienced, proven, and hungry for the title that got away in 2015. This combination doesn't come around twice, but it costs money. It takes commitment. It means Simon and his front office can't treat this like a cable television attraction. It means going all in on the collective bargaining agreement getting resolved, on free agency, on building depth around Clark that can hold up in a playoff run. And the question everyone in Indiana is quietly asking right now is this ownership group ready to do that? Because if they aren't, coaches like Stephanie White don't stay in situations that aren't built to win. She walked away from Connecticut. She can walk away from Indiana. And if she does, the Fever don't just lose a coach. They lose the only woman who's figured out how to make this work. Here's where things stand today. The WNBA collective bargaining agreement is still unresolved. The entire 2026 season depends on it. The Fever are working to keep Kelsey Mitchell. Clark is healthy and expected back. Kelly Krauskopf and Amber Cox are building. The pieces are there. But Herb Simon has been part of this franchise for more than 25 years. He knows what a real window looks like, because he had one in 2012, and he let it be built, and it produced a championship this city still talks about. The question is whether at 91 years old, with the most talented team this franchise has ever put around a Fever head coach, he recognizes this one. Stephanie White does, and she's waiting to find out if Simon does too. If he does, Indiana might be about to do something nobody's done here since Tamika Catchings held that trophy. If he doesn't, well, now you know why they call it bad. If you want to follow what happens next with the Fever, and a lot is about to happen, hit subscribe. We cover this before anyone else does. I'll see you in the next one.